Instruction Skill 22 is talking about understanding the measure of angles. And before we get into the story, let's take a look at this circle. This is where I always started with my students when I was teaching them about angles. I would give them a circle, perfect circle, and I would tell them first of all there are 360 degrees in every circle. And then I would have them with a ruler. This is important. Have to get these straight because these are angles and that matters. I would have them to draw a line right across this way. Let me get a different color here. So I would say cut the circle in half this way. That's called a diameter. Then draw another diameter this way, perfectly straight. So you have cut this circle, this 360 degrees, into 4 quadrants, 4 sections, 4 sectors. You have 0 degrees here. You have 90 degrees here. You have 180 degrees here. And down here is 270. 360 divided by 4, each of these is 90 degrees. And you can show that with this symbol. That means 90 degrees. So the opening between these 2 lines is 90 degrees. It's a perfectly straight corner. It's a right angle. Anything in this sector is an acute angle. An acute means that it's between 0 and 90. Even 89.9 is acute. Anything in this green area is acute. And I told them to remember these are small angles. Anything less than 90, that's a cute little angle. It's tiny. It's a cute little angle. So here's 20 degrees. Look at 10 degrees. That's tiny. Here's 45 degrees. Half of 90. Acute. So this is the first type of angle that I wanted them to know. Acute angles are from 0 to 90. If it's perfectly 90 degrees, it's perfectly right. It is a right angle. If you get over here into this sector, between, get a different color, between 90 and 180, these are obtuse angles. They're large angles. They look like a reclining chair. Here's an example. Let's do 140 degrees. It looks like this. So that angle is right in here. That's an obtuse angle right there. Here is 170. It's almost lying completely down. It's a very large angle. Those are obtuse angles. Then we have a straight angle. This is perfectly 180. And I don't know why they didn't write that one in there, but let's go ahead and call it what it is. 180 is a straight angle. It's half of a circle. And then anything down in this category is called a reflex angle. Be very careful. It's not reflux. That's what you have when you have heartburn sometimes. Reflux is heartburn. This is reflex. So for example, the measurement of 270 is a reflex angle. Anything from 180 to 360 is reflex. Okay. And just for your knowledge, this has always driven me crazy. I want to tell you about this word and this word. Okay. This first word is angel. Angel. This is the figure with wings. Angle is what we're talking about here. So this is the word that we want. Even though that first one looks like angle, it's pronounced angel. Angle is A-N-G-L-E. All right, just to review, angles that measure greater than 0 and less than 90, that's in the green section there, are acute. Angles that measure greater than 90 and less than 180 is obtuse. And right angles measure exactly 90 degrees. A right angle is shaped like a corner and often indicated by a small square. I've had the question a lot. There is no such thing as a left angle. Right angles are 90 degrees. And then straight angles measure exactly 180. All right, here is a story. Xander baked a birthday cake. He cut the cake into 12 equal pieces. What is the measure of the angle made by the straight sides of each piece? So let's get an idea of what they're talking about here. They want us to look at one wedge of the birthday cake. That's right here. And we're looking at this angle between them, the number of degrees in this angle. So to figure that out, I'm going to take the whole 360 and I'm going to divide it by 12 because it tells me that he cut the cake into 12 equal pieces. So I will bring this 0 over, and 12 into 36 goes 3 times. And I'm not sure, yes, 30 degrees. I thought it was 15 I had marked, but the answer is 30 degrees. An angle is measured in units called degrees. Degrees can be thought of as parts of a circle. A whole circle is divided into 360 degrees. So 1 degree is 1/360th of a circle. It's a very tiny amount. Angles are named in 2 ways. You can name the angle with 3 letters. For example, right here, you have A, B, C. And this middle point needs to be the middle letter. So you could call this angle ABC. You could call it angle CBA, but the B needs to be in the middle because it's called the vertex. You can also name an angle by just the vertex. So you can call it angle B because that's where the rotation is happening, at the vertex. And just for your knowledge, 1 is a vertex. That's singular. The plural, more than 1, is vertices. So this is more than 1. Sometimes you see the word vertices, and you may not know that that's referring to that rotational corner. But that's just info. Some angle relationships have special names. 2 angles are called complementary if the sum of their measure is 90 degrees. So if ABD and DBC equal 90, they're complementary. So let's look at that in a little more detail. Use common sense here. Don't get caught up in the words. Let's draw our 90-degree box there. So I know that A, B, C is 90 degrees. So let's do a little bit of thinking here. Let's look first at this angle. I'm going to try to color it for you right in here. So angle A, B, D. That angle right in there. Let's suppose that that is 60 degrees. I'm just making this up. Okay, now let's look at this angle. So we have DBC, that's this angle right in here, is 30 degrees. Because 60 plus 30 equals the 90 degrees that I started with. So I would say that 60 degrees is complementary to 30 degrees because they add up to 90. The way I remembered this, complementary make a corner. They both have a C. Supplementary angles add up to 180. So for example, let's look at this one. We have, remember that straight line is 180 degrees. So I know this is half a circle, that's 180. And then I have this line coming, it's actually a ray coming off of there. So maybe this part of the angle is, I don't know, let's say 50 degrees. So that means this part of the angle would be 130 degrees because those together have to equal 180. So I could say that 130 degrees is supplementary to 50 degrees. And supplements make a straight line. Complements make a corner. Supplements make a straight line. Both start with S. And we've already talked about the cake has the shape of a circle with 12 equal pieces. So each piece is 30 degrees. All right, let's practice a little here. Which is the best estimate of the measure of the angle shown below? Now let me remind you of something that you know here. Let's put in the 90-degree line. Okay, there's 90 degrees. There's 0 degrees. Here would be 180. So this angle I can tell you he's obtuse. He's past the acute section, which would be over here, got to 90 degrees, kept going, but not all the way to 180. So I can tell you that this is an obtuse angle. It's bigger than 90, but smaller than 180. So which of my choices would be correct? Would be number 4. It is an obtuse angle. Problems 2 and 3 refer to the diagram below. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to do something, just a second. Yes, I want to go ahead and show you something that's very useful right here. And I'm going to draw this with lines because I need to be able to get between those lines. So here's Oak Street and Pine Street, and they're parallel. And First Street comes across, this is called a transversal. There's First Street. And here I have angle A, which is half of a circle. Let me do this. I'm going to draw a circle right here and a circle right here. All right, so angle A is right in here. Angle B is right in here. Angle D and C. Then I have angle E, angle F, angle G, and angle H. All right, let's focus right here just a minute. If you have some colored pencils or pens, I would encourage you to do this with me. This will help you. If not, just watch carefully what I'm doing. I'm going to shade angle A with green. Okay. And then I'm going to jump across this intersection, put you a point there where the angles meet, and I'm going to shade its opposite with green. And to me, that looks like a bow tie. We've got a green bow tie there, and then I'm going to do the same with this one and this one. Okay. So what this tells me is that angle A is equal to angle D. If angle A is 150 degrees, so is angle D. Angle C is equal to angle B. So I have that green bow tie and I have the orange bow tie, and both bow ties add up to 360. Gonna do the same down here. E is green, and so is H. Makes a bow tie. And then F and G are equal. And that would be true if we had another line, another circle up here. If you drew in another one of these coming through here, that same pattern would follow as long as you kept going. All right, let's look at these questions. Oak and Pine Streets intersect First Street, making several angles. What is the relationship between angle A and angle C? So let's zoom in here. We are looking just at these two angles. Well, that's half a circle. That's 180 degrees. Those are supplementary. They make a straight line. They add up to half a circle, which is 180 degrees. If the measure of angle B, let me bring this down here. I'm going to have to very soon get a new Apple Pencil tip, because this one is losing its touch with the screen. All right, let me take out this thing that I added in there. We don't need anything else to look at if we don't have to. Okay. If the measure of angle B is equal to the measure of angle F, and it is because they're both orange, B and F are the same position. They're the same color in the bow tie. They're equal. Which angles have measures equal to angle A? Well, let's take a look here. Angle A is green on my bow ties. So is D. So is E. And so is H. All of those are green sections of bow ties. So D, E, and H are all equal to A. Could not be option 5 because angle G is in a different bow tie. All right, number 4. Problem 4 refers to the diagram below. If the measure of angle ABC, so that's this one. Let me do it this way. ABC it's right there, is 55.3 degrees. What is the measure in degrees of an angle that is the complement to angle ABC? Mark your answer in the circles in the grid. Well, complement means that they form a corner. And a corner is 90 degrees. So I would say 90 minus 55.3, and you can use the calculator. I'm not going to. I can do it faster than I can. I will check myself on the calculator, but I would rather just, although at this time of night, pays to check, 34.7. So 34. Don't lose your decimal or you have 347. That is the complement of 55.3. But if you don't know what complement means, that's going to be a tough one to answer. That means that this one would be 34.7. Shakita designed the herb garden shown below. All the large sections, the light shaded, will be planted in oregano. All the small sections, the dark shaded, will be planted in rosemary. What fraction of her garden will Shakita plant in rosemary? All right, be careful here. You have to know what these mean. I actually love this question. That is 90 degrees, which means that this one is also 90 degrees. And that one would be 90 degrees. So 90 times 3, bring the 0 over, and you have 270. That is oregano. Now, if you recognize that that last quadrant would be 90 degrees, those darker areas have to add up to 90. If you don't, you can do 360. We have calculator? We do. Okay. 360 minus 270. Go ahead and put that into your calculator, and that will give you 90 degrees. That's for 3 sectors. But the question is, what fraction will be rosemary? Those are those smaller sectors. So 90 degrees are rosemary out of 360 in the total circle. 9 into 9 is 1, 9 into 36 is 4, or you can use your calculator to simplify that. So 1/4 of her garden is going to be rosemary. I like that question. I've never seen that one before, and I like that one.